Hey everyone, Nyzam45 here, and you can check out my channel at Nyzam45 at YouTube.
Hello and welcome everyone to another MMO Anthropology. I am here interviewing Nyzam45 from Star Trek Online on the bridge of his ship. Oh yeah, by the way, what's the name of your ship?
This is the Mahalo 2.
And what was it again?
It's a fleet Aquarius Destroyer.
And for everyone who isn't aware of what the Aquarius Destroyer is, in this case it's the playable version of the tiny little ship that launches from the back of the huge space whale, the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
So, generally I start with the first question is, why choose Star Trek Online?
That's a funny thing, actually. I never was really into MMOs before. My friend actually introduced me to this game a couple years ago, I think, like 2 or 3, and he started to play it with me, but then he lost interest. But I was actually quite hooked onto it later. So, yeah.
So you kept with it even though your friend ran off and abandoned you to the game.
Yeah, like of my friends, I'm like the only person who plays this anymore. Yeah, but it's fun though.
So do you play any other sorts of MMO games on a regular basis?
Actually, no. I've looked at different MMOs before. I tried Champions Online not long ago, but I didn't really get past the tutorial. It didn't seem to flesh out as good as Star Trek Online does, really.
So you would say that Star Trek Online is pretty much your primary MMO that you play, I guess.
Oh yeah. It's actually the only MMO I play these days. But
and so, tell me a little bit about your experience playing Star Trek Online. Like, when you come into the Star Trek Online universe, what is the first thing that you end up doing on a regular day?
These days usually I just try to get more grinding things done so I can get better things and make my whole experience even more awesome. I also join on to one of my other characters to play around with my fleet because we have groups that do stuff on that one.
So how often do you end up running around with your fleet?
Probably most of the time I'm on. More than half, I'd say, of the time that I'm online on Star Trek Online.
So, now that you've chosen Star Trek Online, the next question is a little bit silly, but I generally ask people, like, what goes into helping you choosing a particular multiplayer game? Like, what made Star Trek Online stand out versus the other MMOs that you poked at or the ones that have appeared on the market?
I think that what draws me in is the fact that you can create something that's your own. Like this character, for example, I made it to sort of look like me. And with other MMOs, I've noticed you can do that to an extent, but not really. And it limits itself to things that the people who make the games come up and that alone. Like this Star Trek Online, and I don't know if you consider Minecraft a MMO or anything, but enough. I did that a while back, and those are really the only multiplayer online games I've ever done to a very large extent, and both of them had a very large creative side to it, which I feel Star Trek Online does.
Yeah, especially because you mentioned how the character creator is actually precise enough for people sometimes to generate characters who look extremely similar to themselves.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you try to get a lot of grinding out of the way to get yourself more awesome gear. Like, what sort of gear is your current goal, and why are you going for it?
Well, for this character, I don't really have a goal at the moment because I've kind of already grinded out everything I can. I'm working more on other characters at the moment. But lately I've been working on the Dyson reputation. That's new. That came out with the last season.
What in the Dyson reputation are you most interested in?
I was originally very interested in the protonic polaron weapons that they introduced, which is it introduced a new damage type that hasn't been implemented into the game almost at all beforehand. I swapped over for some different kinds of weapons after that, but I've also been working on getting like the different ship components like deflectors, engines, warp core, shields, that kind of stuff mainly.
Well, when you go for components like shields, deflectors, engines, etc., do you aim for stuff that gives you particular effects on your ship, or are you looking for things that will up the amount of damage or the damage type that you do?
I usually go for both, seeing what abilities can both make my survivability longer and also do more damage. Like with my current ship, I'm using the adapted Mako, which gives a lot more damage than the regular one, whereas on other characters like the Dyson, it's more protective.
Do you end up, when you're flying with your fleet, I assume that you're more often in some sort of a group and running a STF or something like that. Do you have a particular role that you fall into when you're gaming?
That also depends on what characters I'm doing. Like with my current tune, I'm flying an escort, so I'm mainly a damage dealer with this one. But with my my more social one, which is the my Acadian science officer, I am more of a support craft. I fly a science vessel with that one instead. Whereas other ones, I do a cruiser, which is more of a tanking one on my engineer. So it's different per character.
So would you say that you're a little bit of an altaholic?
Yes.
So what draws you to building so many alts? Is it because you wanted to develop different roles, or were you interested in building like different narratives for different characters?
My answer to that would just be yes, really. All of it really is very interesting. I liked expanding the story, like I mentioned before, about creativity, that you can continue to build on all of that from one to the other. And also playing the different roles is also very interesting to me.
Do any of your characters have a specific theme that you've built for them, or is it mostly about what the role, like the engineer, support?
That also is a big yes, because like with this character, I'm just using the main current era kind of stuff Star Trek online is made in. Whereas with okay, bye.
Apparently, it kicked me off, and now I'm looking at a big blue screen. Wow, that's new. All right, hold on, everyone. I'm gonna stop recording and then restart once I get the game working again. All right, we are back on the bridge after I got disconnected from Star Trek Online, which is an amusing feature of virtual worlds. In that the world is still there even if your character vanishes suddenly and for no apparent reason. So let me move on to a little bit more of a boring question, which is,
Okay.
how do you use online games differently than you do other entertainment? Like, what do you go to Star Trek Online to entertain yourself with, rather than going out to a movie or sitting down and reading a book or watching the TV or something like that?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I just really like, once again, the creativity and the expanding universe that Star Trek Online allows, that some other things won't do. When I started college a while back, I practically stopped watching TV for almost 2 years. Doesn't mean I don't watch TV anymore, but yeah, I mean, like, this is really one of my main forms of entertainment these days.
I immediately hook into your term expanding world, especially because Star Trek Online takes a very episodic approach into building in new content. Have you followed along with and tried to get into everything that they've released, from like the Legacy of New Romulus and now the Dyson content?
Oh, absolutely. I'm kind of addicted to this game more than I would like to admit. Probably checked your Twitter page like 5 times today already. Anyway, but yeah, all new content that is ever released in this game, I'm one of the first people on, like the first day it's released, checking everything out.
I assume that also means, like, when I was disconnected, we talked a little bit about the winter event, the Q's Winter Wonderland.
Yeah.
Are you interested in the reward from that, like, which I believe right now is the Breen ship? Or are you getting into that just because it's there, or for other reasons?
For this character, it's mainly just because it's there, because I like to collect those kind of ships that are special.
Mm-hmm.
But for other characters, like my Gorn, I'm getting that ship because I can complete the set, and that'll actually be a bit of an upgrade for what he has now. I'm also looking to get other rewards and things there, and also my fleet's been going there a lot.
So you have a tendency to show up because there's a bunch of people that you already know are standing around in the instance beating up snowmen?
Yeah, I would say that works as well. That's one of my other reasons, too, yeah.
Also, I just can't get the image out of my mind of a giant man in a lizard suit running down, crashing through the snow. Which, for anyone who's watching who has not seen the original series, Star Trek, the Gorn are basically giant people in lizard suits.
Yeah, thankfully, they updated that for the game.
Yes, they did. For the game, everyone looks appropriate because, we're 3D rendered models. You don't need to stick people in PVC suits anymore.
Yeah.
So, we're going to run out of time shortly for the interview, and I've got one last question for you that I give to everyone. What is one of your favorite or most memorable events that you participated in Star Trek Online? Be it like having a great night out with your friends or blowing up a bunch of Borg.
I'd probably actually have to say getting the ship that we're standing in right now, because when I got this ship, this ship is only available through the fleet holdings at Tier 4, and the fleet I'm in was actually one of the very first fleets to hit Tier 4. This was before any of the other holdings were out. So I remember I was watching the countdown of when the timer was going to be completed on it, and I bought this ship probably 5 seconds after it was done. And I thought that was really cool.
So you had pretty much girded yourself and prepared yourself to buy this ship, and then just watched until it became available, and then hit the big red button.
Yep. Since this ship is so rare, I was probably one of the very first, if not the first, people to actually own one of them.
Is one of the things that makes this ship so rare is because you have to have a fleet to get to Tier 4?
Well, Tier 4 fleet is actually not too rare anymore, since it's been out for quite a while, but back then, there was probably maybe 3 fleets in the entire game that had reached 4 at that time.
I'm not very familiar with the tier system. Do you know what it takes to get your fleet to Tier 4?
Like time-wise, or like resources? Or?
Well, resources and time, comparative to people, because I know that the more people you have in your fleet, the easier and faster that you can upgrade it. Like,
right.
How long did it take? How many people were in your fleet, and how long did it take them to get to Tier 4 from the line, so to speak?
Well, I joined when we were about halfway to Tier 4, and at that time, I think we had around 450 people in the fleet, and things would fill up almost instantly. And just by wait times alone, it took a good 2-3 months for us to get to Tier 4 at the time. So it took quite a while, and it gave me a lot of time to prepare for and plan out what I was going to put on the ship.
Excellent. Well, that's all the time I've got for this interview, and we are on board his fleet Aquarius, which is, of course, that tiny little escort ship. Everybody, I want to thank Nyzam45 for the awesome interview, and everybody check out his YouTube channel, and thank you for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
Good night and good dreams, everyone. See you next time.
Do you play online games? Do you have Skype? Then we'd love to interview you on Massive Online Anthropology. Join the fascinating thousands who've spoken about their online gaming experience and be the envy of all your friends. Or at least get the MMO Anthropology Geek Merit Badge. Sorry, no t-shirt. See you then!